Jimmy, welcome.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
So we'll just get stuck in just to learn a little bit about yourself. So maybe in like 60 seconds, tell me who Jimmy is and what Jimmy does.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jimmy Mitchell. I'm a managing director of a agency called My Online Guy, digital marketing. But we really focus on just helping businesses make more from their marketing with less is effectively what we try and do. So it's not just we do all the traditional stuff like Google Ads and Facebook and all the fun stuff that everyone knows about, but we really try and incorporate abstract strategies into what we do to try and get better results, around where the eyeballs are basically. So I really made a focus into that. And I've been personally doing marketing for about 10 years myself, and then started the agency out of demand for what I did. And then just grown and added services as we've gone. But yeah, love footy, love camping, love my family. That's the most important stuff, right? When you're working with someone. But yeah, just a digital marketing agency based out of Perth.
Who's your footy team, mate?
It's funny you mentioned this because until I was about 16, it was the Eagles, and then I went to the Dockers. And
is that when they came into the AFL or a bit after?
No, it was like a few years in. But my dad's like a diehard Eagles supporter. I went to the Dockers. It's been a pretty tough road, but this year's looking pretty good. So hopefully I might. I've got so much Dockers paraphernalia sitting in the cupboard waiting to go. So hopefully this is the year.
It was the year that when was it Pavlich was still playing when they made the grand final and they should have won.
That was that I blame Fife for that. Yeah, that was probably the closest I've ever seen to a premiership. Because I wasn't young enough for the Eagles. And then I left the Eagles to go to the Dockers, and then the Dockers didn't win anything. Eagles kept winning everything. So, definitely a Dockers supporter through and through.
Yeah, I'm originally from Adelaide, so Crows have always been my team, and it's been a bit of a drought the last 20-something years. So,
yeah, it's a tough one. It's a lot to do with the travel. It's a long way to travel to Victoria. Play games, but that can only be an excuse to so long. The Dockers have been out of it for so long now. At least Adelaide's won flags. The Dockers are sitting there with nothing in the cupboard, so it'd be nice for them to actually put one in there before I die, at least. Maybe my boys might see it in 45 years' time, maybe. But hopefully this is the year. If it's not this year, I don't know what year it's going to be. So we'll see.
Oh, fingers crossed. Finals this weekend, right?
Yeah, yep. So I'm going to be watching that with And yeah, I might start celebrating a little bit early because it might be as far as they get, but we'll see.
Yeah, see how we go. So in terms of the marketing side, what did you do before you were in marketing? What was like the early days of Jimmy?
I've done everything. So I was in the Navy. I left school in year 10, went and worked on a crow boat, just to be gainfully employed. Then I joined the Navy when I was 17 and did about 10 years in the Navy. I went to the Middle East and did all that stuff. So I used to work on weapons systems. So I was an electronics technician, used to work on missiles and torpedoes and guns and things like that. The big gun on the front of the ship, some medals from that, and got out of the Navy, went into agriculture and started off repairing GPS systems for machinery because of the electronics background. Moved into more selling, and then moved into like running a dealership. So I was running a branch for an agricultural dealership. And then I'd always been doing marketing through that. But for myself, like I was saying, a lot of the experience that I have is built on practical, just what I did for myself, because we had this policy in our house, my wife and I, that I wasn't allowed to spend any money that we made on toys. So if I wanted toys, I had to work out a way to make that. And I remember I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad when I was 18 and went, okay, well, this is it. I've got to try and start something. So a few unsuccessful ventures later, I discovered affiliate marketing and basically building blogs and selling other people's stuff. And I did that I still do it to this day, just not as much volume, but that paid for boats, cars, all kinds of toys. And I learned a lot about how to market in competitive spaces because of that, and how to actually attract eyeballs. Because, with affiliate marketing, it's just about attracting eyeballs. The way you do it is the flavor of affiliate marketing you do. I personally did a lot of search engine optimization. So I'd always done that in the side. We were in agriculture, was doing really well in that. And then Pauline, my wife, really wanted to move back to the city. So unfortunately for what I did, it was quite specialised. There wasn't really many roles for an agricultural branch manager in Mandurah where we wanted to live. So I said to my wife, well, why don't I just start taking a couple of clients on? I've had heaps of people ask me over my travels, especially the companies we've been selling for, going, oh, can you do this for us? And I'm like, no, it's just a casual thing I do after work instead of, playing computer games. I sit and write blogs basically. I went back to those guys. I got 3 clients sort of out of the box, and then so the rest is history. So I got them really good results. They told others, and then I just really have tried to be since then an advocate for doing marketing properly. And I'm a pretty blue collar guy, as you can tell, and that seems to naturally attract a certain type of person that wants to work with someone that maybe they can that is good at what they do from a marketing perspective, but also can have a beer with after work sort of thing. So which is seems to be lacking in this space. But yeah, so I'm a massive tech nerd. I've always have been, but just sort of got a bit of worldly experience to go with the marketing as well.
Yeah. So that comment about that I suppose that humble person lacking in the marketing industry is, why do you think that is? Why do you think marketing gets a bad rap? Is it because people don't understand it? Is it just because there is a few bad eggs in there? Like, what do you think the reason is behind that?
I think it's got to do with the people are busy making monies other ways, right? Like so, like I could have stayed in agriculture and done well enough, retired, things like that. In Agro, the company, I didn't leave the company because it wasn't working out. It was more just I wanted to really pursue something that I could grow myself. I think the why the digital marketing space specifically has a kind of a bad rap is the way that people treat it as a business. Not necessarily that there's not people out there getting results, because there is, but there's the culture behind marketing and the way it's grown is really lends itself to people that want to. There's a big proportion of people that do this that want to kind of build something that's set and forget, passive income, right? This has probably been the hardest I've ever worked in my life. But people want to treat it as like, okay, well, we get a person in, we effectively extract money out of them for as little work as possible, and then rinse and repeat. Which any other business in the real world doesn't operate like that, or not for an extended period. But because it's a new industry, a relatively new industry, and there's no real regulation, a lot of people have been able to get away with a lot of things that wouldn't fly in different spaces. So I've just carried a lot of what worked in agriculture. Agriculture was actually the best industry to come into this, because when you're selling $1 million harvester, it's the difference between a John Deere harvester and a Case harvester is actually negligible. It's pretty much paint that separates them, like Toyota and Ford. And why someone's spending $1 million with you over someone else is purely whether they like you or not. As bad as that sounds, a lot of it is relationships and whether you're part of the community and you're providing value and just like common sense stuff. So I took a lot of what I learned in agriculture about how to deal with people that with big ticket items, and took it into ag and took it into marketing, and went, okay, well, I know how to do marketing. I just learned that over time. But I went, okay, well, how would I want to be treated if I was on the other side of this fence? And I would want someone that built a relationship with me that like actually cared. So I'd really just made an emphasis on working on that. And I think that's why marketing has such a bad name, is for every one person that's really genuinely doing that, because there is a lot of people that do that. There's a whole bunch of people that are trying to sit on a beach for do 4 hours of work a week and sit on a beach, and try and automate this process, which is inherently a human process and is inherently something that you're affecting someone's livelihood with. So I feel like people just don't give it the attention it deserves effectively.
Yeah, I suppose marketing really is. I mean, you're playing on people's emotions when you're putting content out there, right? So you can't really have a cookie cutter approach and expect it to work for every single person.
I haven't found a cookie cutter yet that works like that. I would love, I would make a lot more money if there was some kind of actual approach that was a cookie cutter that worked with every business. But you can't just take, and it's why we have so many agricultural customers, ironically. You can't just take what works for, say, a coffee shop and then do it for an agricultural parts company. It just fundamentally doesn't work. They're different audiences, different demographics with different needs and desires. So you can't, and it's the same with the principles are the same. Like the way you would say rank a plumber is the same way you'd rank a hydraulics company, say for instance. But the actual way you do it has to be at least somewhat customized to the at least the industry you're working in. And people just think you can just smash businesses into a square peg and go, well, SEO solves every problem, but actually, it only works in specific cases for specific types of businesses. And I think that's where the market that's why so many people niche down into a specific niche, because you can then build the processes that make you more efficient. But yeah, I think it's what's missing in the industry. And we've always done it in a way that, hopefully, in my opinion, I think the industry needs to be regulated. And hopefully, if I'm doing things right when they're handing out the golden tickets, hopefully I've at least done enough to be able to get considered for one of these, because there'll be a whole bunch of agencies that are not. And you think about if all these agencies just disappeared, and there's only a handful left, I won't have to worry about anything anymore, really.
So how do you think about actually going about regulating the marketing industry? Like, where would you even start? Because I mean, typically,
Yeah, it's a good question.
Once government touches something, they usually turn it to shit. So
they do, but it doesn't necessarily need to be wholesale regulation, like you know uh, like the healthcare system, right? That needs regulation because you're talking about fundamentally about people's lives. Whether the government does a good job of that is like you said, I'm not necessarily a big supporter of big government, but I think even as something as simple as having some kind of barrier to entry into becoming an agency doesn't necessarily need to be a full intervention from the government, but even just like the same way accountants have to be qualified to give accounting services. There's no reason why the marketing space can't have some kind of formal regulatory body that accredits people to be able to do that, which creates a minimum level that if you go to market looking for a marketing agency, at least the same way if you get a plumber, at least that they're qualified to do it. I think the biggest problem with the marketing space is there's a whole bunch of people that are good at selling things, but not many people that are actually good at marketing. And so that then creates this problem that we're facing now is, I've only spoken to a handful of businesses since I've started the agency that haven't been ripped off by someone. And if you were ripped off by a plumber tomorrow, you would be consumer affairs, trying to sort it out. People get ripped off by a marketer for 10, 15 grand, and they're like, oh well. It shouldn't be like that. And the only way you can stop that from happening is by having some kind of like bar line in the sand that says that everything below this isn't supposed to be doing it. Everyone above this line is supposed to be doing it. But people don't realize that if that happens, then people will be willing to pay more. People will be willing to charge more. It will be treated like a professional service, like a lawyer or an accountant, because there's a bar, and with a bar comes premiums. So I think it's good for the marketing space. I think it's good for businesses, and it doesn't have to be full regulation. Just a thing to say, like, they are accredited. They're a part of some governing body that has all these marketing agencies that are approved, like the same way chartered CPAs are. It doesn't have to be tied to anything tertiary. It could be just a course that people do on running an agency. I don't know what that looks like, but I feel like that has to happen at some point, because we're getting sort of put in there with telephone scammers and things like that, when really, like, good marketers can make a big difference to someone's business. But the problem I have is that the speed that I move at, I can't get to a lot of businesses before they've been ripped off by someone, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, I mean, how many times a week do you get an email from clearly someone overseas about changing your website or giving you SEO services or something like that, right?
It's why you don't see emails from accounting firm, like in overseas accounting firms, going, "Oh, I will offer you accounting services,"
because it's illegal to trade or to do that. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it would help a lot, because it is a bit of a shame that I think the businesses need to take some responsibility for this as well. It takes like 20 minutes of diligence to find out if someone's talking crap or not. Like you don't have to be that well educated in the marketing space to pick through what someone's saying. But even that, like I've spoken to a few businesses about running a course specifically designed about how to tell if someone's just spinning you garbage, or whether like it's some kind of like training like flow for a business can do to identify whether someone's actually going to give them results or not. And it doesn't have to involve me in any way, just more like something out there is like, okay, well, okay, you're going to spend an hour. Everyone in the business is going to spend an hour. They're going to watch this video, this video, this video, this video. And then from that, they're going to be able to ask the right questions that can weed out like 90% of the people in this space. Doesn't happen. It doesn't exist, from my knowledge. Otherwise, if it did, there'd be a lot less businesses getting ripped off. But it doesn't actually take much for a business to go and ask a second layer of questions to really pick through someone that doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, because I suppose because marketing does have so many different facets to it. Like you just, if you don't know, you just don't know, and someone can pull the wool over your eyes pretty quickly, I reckon.
Yeah, and it's for big dollar figures too. Some of these businesses that get, I suppose the fundamental thing is they're probably not getting fleeced. Like they're getting given a service in exchange for money. Whether that service actually achieves what the business needs to achieve is where I think the disconnect is, and that's an expectation thing. Businesses aren't clear enough on their expectations of the company they're working with, and then the companies aren't clear enough on their abilities and what they can and can't do to help guide those expectations. So it's sort of like everyone just needs to get better in this space. The businesses, the marketing agencies, like the government, everyone just needs to get better, because right now it's like the Wild West. It honestly is. Like I come up against people and I see they send me their proposals, like the business sends me the proposals some of they get, and it's like that's not even possible. Like what they're offering is not even that's a wholesale lie. Like it's impossible to achieve what they're saying, unless they're doing something that I don't know, which doesn't happen super often. But yeah, it's everyone just needs to get better in this space.
Yeah. So for a small business coming up, what's like the number one mistake that you see small businesses make in terms of the marketing strategy? Would it be selecting the wrong person to engage with marketing, or what is it?
I'm glad you asked that question, because it's a question I've been asking myself lately. What is the point of difference, right? And I think because we work with a lot of smaller businesses too, and I've always never put this on paper, but I finally have. I think all businesses need to start with their foundations, and it's not talking about a specific tactic here. I'm not talking about a foundation as in like they need a good website. I'm talking about the foundations of like I've always put this to businesses because it's always every business that comes and sees me wants more leads. If they're a service based, let's say they're a plumber, right? They want more leads. That's always the question they ask. Now, as a marketer, it's very easy to say I will get you more leads, because it's actually not that hard to get leads. It's probably one of the biggest misconceptions is I can get you 1,000 leads tomorrow if you really had a big enough budget and inclination. Like there's so many ways to get leads. The biggest question then becomes with the business is like, okay, if I was to get you 100 leads tomorrow, what would you actually do with them, and how would you manage them? Because I can get you 100 leads tomorrow as a plumber, but it'll probably break your business because you have no processes in place to manage it. They're not going into one spot. I would say of 100 leads that you get, 60 get thrown in the bin because you haven't gone back to them in time, or you're trying to slow down their intensity. So this is, I think, a business before they even go to market looking for marketing needs to look at their foundations, which consists of six things. You need to have at least one place on the internet that's designed to convert people, whether that's a website or a Facebook page or whatever. You need to have one place you send people, so that any efforts you make, like you're even wrapping your van, there's one place that you're sending to them that's going to be put to work to convert. So that place needs to convert at a really high level and at the highest level possible. So one place is designed to convert. Then you need one bucket to put all your inquiries into. So you're going to get, as a small business, you're going to get inquiries from all different places, whether it's Facebook or someone seeing the van on the side of the road and inquiring through the picture, whatever, ads, Google ads, there's so many channels that you can get inquiries. One of the biggest things that breaks a business is getting inquiries from like 7 different places. And then one of them getting missed for 24 hours or something because the inquiry's gone to Facebook Messenger and they haven't been notified. So you need to have one bucket that captures all these inquiries so you can manage them from one spot. So that's the second thing. The third thing a business needs is they need to have analytics and metrics out of the box. So a lot of business, it's always a big red flag for me if a business talks to me and they've been working with another agency and they don't know the numbers, even if they're cursory. They don't know how many people are coming to the website. They don't know how many they're converting. They don't know any, they have no tangible metrics. That's a big red flag for anyone watching. If the person you're working with does not give you tangible metrics, then they don't know what they're doing, because gone are the days of trying to rank someone first page on Google. It should be about how many leads am I getting, where do they come from, how much do they cost. The digital marketing space has developed that much with tools that you can measure a lot of this stuff. So the other thing is you can only capture that data once. So it's important to do it from the very start. So, having Google Analytics on your site and Search Console and tools to be able to collect that data. You may not do anything with it now. This is Facebook Pixel as well. You may not do anything with it now, but when you do work with a marketer that knows what they're doing, they're going to want that data so they can make decisions on your behalf. So data. Then the fourth thing is automation and efficiency. So another thing that will break the back of a business is, with these 100 leads, is having no automation or efficiency in place to manage them. So the follow-up sequences, what happens when you get a lead? What happens when the lead gets a proposal? What happens when they've done the work and you're chasing them up? Some way of like removing human labor from that process, because in most small businesses, human labor is the single most expensive part. So you don't want to add. So I can give you 100 leads tomorrow, but it'll probably exponentially increase the amount of work required. Whereas with automation and efficiency in place, it doesn't do that. It literally increases the amount of work. Then the next thing you need is at least one channel of inquiry. So that's repeatable. So that might be Google Ads set up. And the big thing with this channel is it may not be the most cost effective, but it's something you can go back to the well to. It's like your brick wall. If you're getting someone attacking you, you need some way of going to the mattresses and going, okay, well, we need more business. Something you can turn off and on as you need it. It may not be the most efficient. It may not make you the most money, but it's the spring that feeds the whole town sort of thing. So you need to have at least one channel of that. And then the sixth thing is that foundation needs to be able to laterally grow. So you don't want to build, say, a website only to find out in a year you have to rebuild it because it can't fundamentally do things you need it to do in the future. So you need to build a foundation that's modular in nature that you can add things to in the future. So, but if businesses actually focused on those elements and didn't worry about leads until they had that sorted, then when they do need 100 leads because they're growing and scaling, it's actually 10 times easier to manage. They're cheaper, you convert more of them, and you're more efficient with that inflow. And it makes it 10 times easier to scale. So I think as a small business owner, stop worrying about increasing profit by getting more leads. Increase your profit by getting the leads you get already, manage them better and do them better. That's what I would say most small businesses should focus on before they even worry about doing any marketing.
So set that up from day one before they even open the doors. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, or as close to that as possible. The best time to set it up is when you're not busy, because you can test and tweak it before you go and throw 100 leads in there. By the time you get to the requirement for 100 leads, it's too late.
Yeah.
You can't, it's too,
yeah.
You don't have time to do it. You need the leads. Whereas if you're just starting out, you have a bit of time to tweak and change the process and optimize it so that when you do get 100 leads, it doesn't create 100 times the amount of work or 10 times the amount of work. It might just double the workload, but it doesn't 10 times the workload. Because you don't, with the 21st century and the way marketing works and the way media works, it only takes like one news article, one video, one whatever to blow your business up. And if you're not in a position to take that bulge in inquiries, then you're just wasting what might only happen once or twice or a couple of times in your business life cycle. You might get on Today Tonight and be Australia's best plumber for some reason. And then all of a sudden, everyone in that town wants to use you. And if you're just throwing these leads away because you can't handle them, because you're having no processes, no foundation in place, then you're probably never going to get that opportunity again to fundamentally change the trajectory of your business. So you kind of need to be prepped for it, prepped for, but not with. And then as you scale and grow, you just bolt tactics to the side of it. Start doing SEO, start doing Google ads, Facebook ads. There's so many tactics to get the actual leads that can just bolt into something like that. And I talk to a lot of businesses, and I haven't met one yet that's got it set up. So I could be completely off the mark, but I just know when I set that up for businesses first, they get better outcomes as they grow.
Yeah. So do you offer that as a service? Do you, like, if a business that's, very early days or has only got the idea, here's a bit of a plan to get you ready for when they come in.
Yeah, 100. This is how much I'm believing it. So we do a lot of custom work here at My Online Guide, gyms and things like that, gyms group. Um, we're actually moving to just doing this for businesses. That's how strongly I believe that it's and how important it is that we're just moving to helping businesses with their foundations and then growing with and being who they work with through the lifetime of their business. We haven't had a small business yet that we've worked with where we haven't had to go back and do this anyway. So I feel like why don't we just try and push, be advocates of doing this properly at the start, because no one's really flying the flag for it. And everyone does. A lot of agencies have specific tactics that they do. Myself, we specialize in search engine optimization. If we had a specialization, so when your nail is, if your hammer's SEO, then everything looks like it can be fixed with SEO. But actually, as we've discussed, like it's sometimes the abstract stuff, like an abstract, like guerrilla growth sort of tactic can bolt straight into something like this. If you get public, like end up in the TV or on the TV, the system should be able to handle that. And yeah, I think, so it's something we're definitely making a shift to putting more of a focus on, because that's how important it is, I think, to businesses.
Do you think not many people offer that service because it's not like the sexy, oh, look at this awesome paid ad or look at this awesome content that we put together? Is that why
100%.
people don't do it?
Yep, and really, marketing agencies have just evolved to what the demand is. People, when they go to market, ask for more leads, so they offer a solution which gives you more leads. But actually, is the reason you need more leads a like a painkiller to a core problem, which is that, look, you're probably getting pretty leads at the moment. You're just not doing enough with them. You're not managing well enough. I always hear bad quality leads come up. Oh, I was working with these guys and the leads weren't very good. I'm sorry to say this, but a lot of the time it's not that the leads are bad. It's just the way you manage them is bad, and it makes them bad. So, you can have a good quality lead that turns bad into a bad quality lead because you take a week and a bit to get back to them, or like you don't get back to them at all. And all of a sudden it becomes about dollars, and like they have the value is not customer service anymore. It's like, how much can you do it for? Because they've got no other reference points. So yeah, I think you're right. I think the reason it's not done often is because it's not as sexy as going, oh, I can get you 600 leads, through some specific tactic on Facebook, which, it's the biggest myth. Like, everything most marketers do is on YouTube. So, that's why I say it's easy, is because it's, if you really wanted to get 100 leads tomorrow and you had the time, you could spend probably 20 hours on YouTube and get yourself 100 leads, really.
In terms of the industry since you've been involved, what's like one thing that's fundamentally changed from 10 years ago to now? Is it the digitalization, or is it some sort of new tactic that people are using? What is it?
I don't think it's necessarily the tactics that have changed much. I think human beings are human beings, and marketing's been around forever. The specific tactics that we use to get eyeballs has changed. It was people spruiking in market bazaars in 4000 BC. Now it's TikTok and TikTok and Instagram Reels. In 2 years it might be VR. Like the actual fun mechanics of marketing will never change. The specific tactics has. I think what's changed in the last 10 years is the market has, like, the consumer expects more for their dollar. So, when I was doing affiliate marketing, we were getting, say, I have a 4-wheel drive site. I sell um, a air compressor, right? I'd be making 5% on the air compressor, and I'd probably be getting about $45 per 1,000 views on just having ads on there. That's now about $18 because the advertisers are expecting more for their dollar. So they're not paying as much for their spaces because it's more competitive. And then we're making less as content creators or affiliate marketers. So I think just like even a plumber, they know. So like 10 years ago, they had no idea. They just wanted to rank on the internet or like have their website show up in Google. Now they're expecting to be number one. Now they're expecting to know how many leads they're going to get from that. So I think it's just a maturity of what people expect has changed, and that's why I don't think the tactics make a difference. It's like the fundamentals, because you know the tactics can be anything. Though what works now may not work in 2 years, so you need to be able to adapt to that. But yeah, I think everyone's expectation is just getting higher and higher of what marketing can do for a business.
And when you say the expectation is high, in terms of the result, or in terms of the eyes on the business, bottom line, like what do you find from when you speak to your clients? Like what's their expectation level?
Their expectation is more like, I expect this type of communication with me. I expect, that ranking number one, ranking on the first page of Google doesn't really cut it anymore. They're expecting to see their ads without spelling errors and grammatical errors. 10 years ago, they were just happy to have an ad on Google because it didn't actually make that much, because there was less people advertising and it wasn't as competitive. You could have a spelling error on a Google ad and it probably wouldn't make a difference because the consumer didn't know how to use Google properly. Now the expectation is like, this light behind me is an expectation. It's like there's a certain expectation with video. There's a certain expectation with Google Ads. You've got to do retargeting now because the consumers are getting more used to the internet. The consumers are getting more used to the internet. The businesses are getting more familiar with what it can and can't do, which causes that flow-on effect of everything just progressively getting more and more complex and elaborate, and those little one percenters that didn't matter actually care. The business owners actually care about that stuff now because they know how to log on to Google and see their ad and see a spelling error. Whereas 10 years ago, half the business owners probably didn't even see their own ads on Google. They didn't even know what to search or how to search that stuff.
So we just say it's like a combination of the quality of marketing is improved, and then therefore the expectation is lifted from the clients.
Yeah, I think the market has made it. The market has decided that there's a minimum expectation because of competition. So 10 years ago, maybe one in every five plumbers ran Google Ads. Now, pretty much every plumber runs a Google ad. So there's 5 times more competition, and it's survival of the fittest. So everyone's had to get better at marketing, or most marketing agencies have had to get better to keep up with that expectation of like, okay, well, there's 5 times more plumbers. We need to be 5 times better than we were 10 years ago, because otherwise it wouldn't be an effective channel anymore. Same with YouTube. When there was physically less videos on YouTube, you could post a video and you'd get eyeballs on it. Now there's so many videos that have so many good captions and thumbnails and call to actions in them that it's just got a lot harder to do. And that's why things like TikTok and TikTok, we use that as a recent example, get a lot of limelight, because when a new channel comes that's eyeballs, it's a bit of a land grab to see who can get the most traction on it first. And that's why I've been telling a lot of businesses that I speak to is like, yeah, you may not like TikTok, but what happens if it becomes the next Instagram or Facebook? You kind of want to make sure that you want to be the first person to the gold rush, not the guy right at the end. You gotta like, the gold's in the ground for only a certain period of time, and then it becomes like Facebook, where the market is in decline and not as many people are using it anymore. TikTok's one of those things. You don't know which one of these platforms is going to become the next Facebook, so you need to like invest some time and energy into it so that you get at least 1 foot on the ground, and then you can expand from there. So the same thing with Instagram in 2012. It was basically just travel bloggers and foodies that were using it. But those businesses that were smart enough to like invest a bit of time in putting photos and stuff on there now have 500,000 followers. It's almost impossible to do that now because of the way the algorithm works and how much content is on there. But 10 years ago, it was a lot easier to do because there just wasn't that much content on there. TikTok is pretty much the same trajectory as Instagram. It's not just 12-year-olds anymore. There's the actual fastest growing demographic on something like TikTok is 38 to 50-year-olds. And those businesses that have enough inclination to go, actually, I'm just going to post a couple of videos. I don't have to make it my wholesale thing, get a bit of traction on there. They're the ones that are going to have 500,000 followers on TikTok that they'll be able to monetize in the future when it's more mature and there's more eyeballs that are appropriate to their business on there.
Yeah, in a couple of years, once it hockey sticks, if they're already on there, they're gonna ride the
Yeah.
wave, right?
How many YouTube creators started YouTube, you know, businesses even started YouTube when there was not that many, not relative to now, as many people using YouTube, and just happened to ride the wave up. They just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Same with Facebook, same with Instagram, same with TikTok, same with Google Ads, same with Facebook ads. There's a point where there's a whole bunch of a conglomerate of marketers trying to understand something. When that's happening, and because generally marketers will wreck things. So at the moment, TikTok's not wrecked by marketers that are manipulating it. While that's happening, that's the single best time to explore this stuff and actually put some time into it. Because as soon as a marketer comes along, like Andrew Tate, for instance, he's been big in the news lately, but he just basically worked out a way to manipulate TikTok's algorithm and Instagram's algorithm. Once marketers and affiliate marketers and people that sell things work out ways to wreck this stuff, it kind of wrecks it for everyone. So you've got to kind of get in there before that wave starts. And so that's why I'm always, you know, we had this discussion. I'm always trying to look for ways to grow that doesn't just rely on Facebook ads or Google ads and things like that, because they're already done and done. Like, you have to work 5 times harder to get the same results than something that's maybe a little bit more abstract that not everyone is doing at the same time.
Yeah, so with all these, million different channels, if you've just got someone who's just starting out, spending a bit of money on marketing, like, where do they put their budget? Like, what's the best bang for buck? Like, is there a golden ticket? Like, how do they figure out where to be placing their business?
Yeah, 100%. So that's why it's important to have a repeatable channel. So a repeatable channel is something that's established that you can do consistently. So whether that's Facebook ads, Google ads, so you'll have that channel. I always recommend that, even if it's not the most profitable one. So let's say you had a budget of $100 to spend on marketing. I would spend $80 of that on a repeatable channel to make sure you keep the lights on. You can't just experiment all day, every day. But I would spend $20 of that trying different mediums that suit your business. So, for instance, when you're starting, generally you have more time than money. Is generally the problem you have, is that you need more money, but you have plenty of time because you don't have as many clients. That is a perfect time to start exploring doing long form content videos, talking through your business, how it works, how the mechanics of the lawn mowing around you have works, because you've got nothing to lose. You know, spend a bit of time that you had already to create content, and then you can see what sticks to the wall. Look for abstract ways of growth. You know, you might be posting to Facebook groups. Generally, the reason a marketing agency won't recommend you do that is because it's time consuming. And for me as an agency to say post in Facebook groups, which is super effective for a small business, the amount I would have to charge to do that, because it's so manual intensive, doesn't make it cost effective for a small business. But there's nothing stopping you as a business owner doing that. Even traditional marketing methods work really well. The traditional marketing methods work way better now than they did 10 years ago, because everyone's just kind of given up on them because the internet's more mature. So things like, I told one of my clients who does concrete polishing, he does like big backyard patios and things and polishes the concrete. And I said, your truck is sitting out the front of that place for like 2-3 days. Why don't you just get one of your kids, go there at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, walk all the way down the street and just drop flyers in every mailbox on the street. You telling me that the next door neighbor to the guy that's getting done is not trying to peek over the fence to find out what's going on? So like, you give some context to what's happening, then next thing you'll do 3 or 4 businesses on that street, of houses on that street. And it's a way more cost effective strategy than trying to run Google ads. And you do, and that applies to anything. You know, like, one of the most effective strategies for a B2B business at the moment is throwing a business card with a stress ball in an envelope and putting it in people's mailboxes. It's way more cost effective than running Google ads or Facebook ads as a B2B, or LinkedIn ads as a B to business. So I think if I was a small business owner, I'd be like, okay, well, how can I get the best return on my time? It may or may not work, but if it does work, it's going to be way more cost effective. And I would just be rinse and repeat. It's like, okay, well, I did the flyers, what worked, what didn't. Okay, well, maybe if I go 2 streets, do like a street, 2 streets, or go and park my truck like on the next street down. You know, like I was telling you, like what I did for my online guy when I started, is I used to take my car, which is wrapped, And I used to go and park it in front of Bunnings on a Saturday morning at 6 o'clock at the first car park near the door, get my wife to pick me up and go and grab my car at 5. And I'd get 4,000 people a day walk past the car, and I'd get probably 3 inquiries a day, tradies, in there. And I've got a 500 horsepower Falcon, so it's something people look at. And I get a call because it has websites, SEO, Google Ads, all that stuff on there. And they're like, oh, do you do that? It's like, yeah. And so like that's been the single most cost effective marketing strategy I've ever done. And it cost me nothing to do except a bit of time and tenacity.
So trying to find, I suppose, like less saturated markets that are at lower cost when you're first starting up, because you're just not going to be able to compete with the big boys in terms of budget on those.
100%. 100. That is exactly what I was trying to say, is that, I can run Google Ads for a business. It's not like they won't get results, but they're going to pay for those results because it's just so much more expensive to advertise on Facebook and Google Ads and stuff where the eyeballs are. So you're going to get them results, you're going to get them the leads, but they're going to be expensive. Or they can go on, get their wife or get them to go on for 2 hours a night and just go on Facebook groups, get some copywriting written up that really sells your business the way you want it to be sold. Go on Facebook groups and do that. So my mother-in-law is retired. She's been pruning roses, and she asked me how to get more business. I said, just go on Facebook groups and post that you prune roses. I'm guarantee you'll pick up more work than you'll be able to handle. And that's exactly what she did. And she's getting people from all over the place that don't even know how to prune roses. So I said to her, you should really be recording how you actually do this. If you do that, I can get it on TikTok and places. And she's doing that now. She's recording how she goes about pruning the roses, because she's quite like approachable. And I said to her, like it may work or may not, but you may just become like the rose pruning lady of TikTok that, everyone watches you. And like it's not going to affect her in any tangible way because it's really just something to do. But like the model, that principle can pretty much apply to any business if you really distill down what they do. So it doesn't matter if it's rose pruning or plumbing. There's value there.
Yeah, it's funny, those little niches like that, they can, especially on those channels like TikTok, they can pop off really quickly.
I tell this to a lot of businesses. I like, yes, you pressure wash, like, okay, so my concrete guy, you polish concrete. So to him, he thinks it's the most boring thing in the world. But I'm like, actually, I would watch that. I would watch the process on how to do that, because yes, it's boring to you, but to me, who spends all day in front of a computer, it's not. Because you think no one cares about it doesn't mean that people don't care about it. So I would tell that to anyone watching, like, or because you have what you think is a traditionally boring business doesn't mean that other people will find it boring. And those other people that don't find it boring are going to engage with that content, and they're probably going to be the consumers of the content. You don't want to attract the people that find it boring, because they're probably other concrete polishers. You want to attract the people that actually go, oh, I've been wanting to do that. You show them how. I think a big myth is that people feel like if they show someone how to do something, they're going to do it themselves. But generally, that's not the case. So there's so much information out there on how to market a business, yet we're flat out because not everyone wants to market their own business. You can show them how to do it, but they're like, actually, I've got other things I want to do. And the concrete polishing is the same. You post a video on how to actually do the nuts and bolts of it. It's not going to mean there's 10 concrete polishers just pop up in the market. It's more like, oh, my floor looks dirty. I want the result that gives me. I'm going to give this guy a call. That's a big myth in the small business space.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen some of those pool cleaning videos where they do the before and after. Yeah. Those things are freaking amazing. Right.
Yeah, and you'll be surprised how much business. Well, a good example of this is the gentleman that had that cranberry juice and was skating on his skateboard, and there was all these memes. That was a couple of years ago now. The tangible effect of that is that the sales of Ocean Spray cranberry juice went up 70% because everyone was recreating it. You don't realize the cause and effect of content. You'll never be able to measure it, but anecdotally, like those pool cleaning guys, they are flat out. I'm sure they are. They're flat out, even if it's not necessarily through work. some of these content creators, they make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year just creating content. Now, you think about it as a small plumbing business, what could you do with an extra $100,000 a year of extra revenue or income, profit? Like, what could you do? So, like, I was only explaining this today to someone that, yes, okay, it's not directly what you do, but like an extra $1,000 a month means you don't need an extra customer or a client. It means you can get extra equipment to do your job better, and you're already doing it anyway. So why wouldn't you just take the extra 2 minutes it takes to record yourself doing it, just in the potential case that it becomes a video that goes viral or starts a YouTube channel snowball, and all of a sudden you have 100,000 subscribers and you're getting paid $4 per thousand views and you're getting 40 million views a month. It's like the numbers you can make. There's people out there. There's people out there that have mowing channels that make $150,000, $200,000 a month, posting it on YouTube, just mowing videos of mowing lawns or talking about lawnmowers and stuff. People don't like, all because you have a brick and mortar business doesn't mean that there's potential opportunity to create extra revenue streams for yourself that aren't physically doing the work that you do. And the internet has allowed that. It's just not many people understand the mechanics of how that works.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big issues with small businesses. They just don't know where to start in the marketing space because there's so many different channels, so many different strategies. So it's just about finding the right person who can provide you with that advice.
Yeah, and it's not even
or at least someone who's been there, done that, like getting a referral from someone who's used someone who's provided results for them.
I agree with that, and I think I would be lying if I said that there's some secret source of this. Everything I know about marketing, I've either done practically or learned from the internet. So, like, I would just say, Gary Vaynerchuk did a talk the other day, and he said that if you're a mortgage broker right now, I would be spending 15 to 20 hours on YouTube learning about NFTs, because that will disrupt your industry at some point. And if you have at least a cursory understanding of it, then you can take advantage of it or react to it or whatever, and not just get completely blindsided. Marketing is the same. If businesses just took 10 to 20 hours out of the next month to like learn what SEO is, to learn, like, they hear all these terms, but they go, okay, SEO, I need SEO. Well, take the 15 minutes it takes to watch Google's primer on how search works, and then you'll be better equipped. You'll probably know more about SEO than most SEOs do. Google tells you exactly how to rank a website. It's just the experience helps make that faster. But like, Google has a video series that's specifically dedicated to small businesses to teach them how to do search engine optimization for themselves. It doesn't take much effort to find it, and it's done at a super high production level because they know it's not SEOs looking at this. Yet when I speak to people about SEO, they just blindly rely on my advice, when really they're just lucky they found me and I'm willing to give them like true advice. Whereas there's a lot of other agencies out there that will just tell them whatever they want to hear to get the money. So yeah, I would say, like, as a business owner, that's what I did when I started this. Is like, anything I didn't know, I just went on YouTube and taught myself the fundamentals, and then just built on the experience.
That was going to be one of my questions. What's your favorite top online tool? But it sounds like it's probably YouTube.
100%. I mean, I've got tools that I use for the mechanics of the agency. We like to use Avasa for project management, Ahrefs, and there's plenty of tools that we use to do the job. But as a tool, I like to use YouTube because we have access in the 21st century. You have access to literally every piece of information that's ever existed. Like, you think about it, 25 years ago, or like even when I was at school, I had to go to the library, I had to get an encyclopedia. And if I wanted to learn what search engine optimization was, I had to be either a very lucky person that knew someone that knew about it, or inside a circle, or I had to go to the library and pick up a SEO for Dummies books and read it end to end. Now you can find out there's 10 million videos on it on YouTube. There's 10 million podcasts about it. There's 1,000 audiobooks about it. There's 10,000 actual books about it. There's so many ways. There is no excuse in the 21st century to not give yourself a fundamental understanding of something, except for maybe if you can't learn or something like that. But even that, I think there's online tutoring, there's mentoring. There's so many ways to learn something that I don't see it as an excuse for getting ripped off in marketing. As if you blindly give someone $10,000 to do your SEO without having a fundamental understanding of what it needs to do for you, then you can't really get upset if you lose that money, because you don't have to you can go to a casino. You don't have to understand the mechanics of roulette, and you can put all your money on red. And if you lose it, you lose it. But the upside, you might get lucky and get the right person that helps you. But the better educated you are and the better fundamental understanding you have of what you're trying to achieve, the less chance you have of getting ripped off and finding someone that can actually pass that sniff test and go, well, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. Because I have a very, very cursory understanding of it, and the person I'm speaking to doesn't even pass that test. Why would I use them if they know less about it than I do? And you'll find that if you speak to 10 agencies, if you have a cursory understanding of it, you'll probably be able to talk the talk better than 90% of them.
That might be a good nugget to take from this chat, is go out and learn a bit about marketing and educate yourself rather than going and playing marketing roulette.
Oh, it's crazy. You know, this is the thing that astounds me with it, is if you're doing a lawn mowing round, you probably know every single thing there is to know about that lawnmower. You probably watch YouTube videos about lawnmowers. You know, it's like if I was going to go buy a lawnmower, I'll do like 5 minutes on finding out which one the best one is and why it's the best one. But you know, you ask them to do the same kind of diligence the other way around, and it's like, oh no, I don't know marketing, I don't know the internet. It's like, no. You're just making an excuse because you probably don't enjoy it. But you know, if I told them like, well, you could make 10 grand by spending an hour watching this video because you're not going to get ripped off, they probably would do it if you phrased it the right way around. So it's not necessarily you're doing it to do the work. You're spending an hour learning about SEO so that you can save yourself 10 grand by using the right person. And that's what businesses need to do.
Yeah, I definitely think personally, I've probably learned more just watching YouTube and listening to podcasts than I ever got from that expensive piece of paper up there.
Yeah. The marketing degrees are good for a theoretical understanding of the principles of marketing, but we've hired several marketing degree graduates, and there's a big difference between theoretical marketing and practical marketing. So there's a whole bunch of stuff on Facebook and Google that you can do for a business, but is that going to get them a return on their investment? Probably not. So it's like, from a practical standpoint, there's things that you need to do, and then from a theoretical standpoint, there's things you could do, but you probably shouldn't do. And I think this is what trips everyone up, especially people trying to get into the marketing space, but even just businesses doing this diligence, is they get overwhelmed with this sheer amount of possibilities. And actually, if you just start with a small chunk of it and a fundamental understanding, then you can develop your own strategies to execute. And it's always been, I've never really followed anyone in the marketing space because of that reason. It's like I try to get a fundamental understanding of something and then back myself and go, well, like, my understanding of it is that SEO is done this way. I don't care what Neil Patel or Matt Diggity or anyone says about SEO. This is how I do it. And this is the reason I do it, because my fundamental understanding of SEO is this. And it's irrefutable. You can't argue with that. And then the consumer has the choice on whether they use you or not based on what you understand of it. So I think that's where the conversation disconnects. Like I said, is business owners don't ask enough questions when they're talking to an agency to determine whether they're just taking someone else's idea and trying to smash a square peg into a round hole, or whether they actually have a good fundamental understanding of it and can tweak it to what you need as a business owner.
Yeah, I think they really need to understand the business that they're going to be marketing for too, because I mean, you can't, like I think we mentioned it before, you can't just apply a cookie cutter approach to every single business, because the demographic, the customer persona, they're all different for every type of
the location,
yeah, everything.
You know, it all changes, and we don't tweak much, but the tweaks we do make a big difference, because it's subtle little things like, so like we work with a few air conditioning companies, and if you were just going to try and take something, a HVAC company in the US, because they call it HVAC over there, you know, take a HVAC company's Google ads and put it into an Australian Google ads, it wouldn't work. Little thing like, I discovered that if you run ads for the word aircon instead of air conditioning, you can save about 40% on your cost per clicks, because everyone forgets about that. They go, oh, I've taken this like template for air conditioning that's come from the US, done it. So everyone's trying to tackle air conditioning. Whereas if you just tackle aircon, because Aussies are like,
No
oh, I
one
need
says air
aircon
conditioning
installation.
here, do they?
Yeah. So it's like that, even it's a subtle tweak like localization of a keyword. And I haven't told anyone that, because that's always been my secret weapon, is these little like tweaks have what gives us a competitive advantage, because it's not rocket science when someone tells you. So one of the things we do a lot of is content and writing blogs and things like that to drive traffic. We, we write blogs and they do well and they get traffic, but we can't just sit on that. So I'm the only person I know that does it. But for our clients, when we write a blog article, we actually create images within the article that look like a banner. So they look like what Google Ads would serve, but they just go to our business. And that increased the conversion rate of an article from like 0.1%, 0.2% to almost 1%. Because Google, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, because Google knows that these display ads work, but we're just making them for our own stuff and making them an image so they don't get picked up by ad blockers, and they just go to our stuff. So like we have an article about like the best sprinkler heads, and we just run a banner ad to the irrigation company that we're doing the article for. It's little subtle things like that if you just like took what was being said at face value about blogs, and you didn't have a fundamental understanding of what the blog was actually trying to achieve, you probably wouldn't get to that conclusion. And I think that's the biggest problem with the marketing space, is there'll be a whole bunch of people now that listen to this and go and implement it without actually going, what are we trying to achieve here? It's subtle things like, okay, well, this image needs to go to that article because to that page because that article's about that. That little tiny bit extra makes a huge, profound difference. But they'll just go, oh, we need to put a bunch of images in an article now. And then someone will put 15 in there, and then Google will stop it from working. That's generally what happens. So there's a big problem with this space where everyone just tries to copy each other and like templatize this space without realizing that we're fundamentally affecting people's livelihoods. And you can't just, I would be very uncomfortable if I was a business owner knowing that the person I'm working with is just taking what's worked for someone else and just slapped it over the top of my thing, because you're messing with my livelihood. You're messing with my ability to put my kids through private school or whatever, or whatever that tangible effect is. And I think there's not enough marketing agencies to take responsibility for that. Maybe not fiduciary responsibility, like oh, you're going to give your money back, but like just like an emotional responsibility that actually someone's livelihood is at stake here. If this doesn't work, I'm going to give it at least an attempt to put some effort into it so that they have the best chance of getting an outcome. And I think that's fundamentally the problem with the space, is just not enough people that actually care about the outcome. They just go, oh, they leave, we'll just get another person. We'll get another client. It's a shame because it shouldn't be like that, but I feel like it's just
No, well,
for
I mean,
people that
a lot of other agreements that you'd have, like a commercial agreement you'd have with someone, you've actually got a contract in place. If we don't hit this, this, and this, then we cease our relationship after X time. But yeah, that doesn't seem to be something that happens within marketing. It's just, we will give you this content or we'll produce this, but there's no result at the end. There's no guaranteed result, or at least a minimum result.
Yep, and it's part of why everyone hates marketers. As bad as it sounds, I try and be a little bit more likable in the space, but the same way there's good lawyers and bad lawyers. Like there's people out you can't take the people out of this, and I just try and influence my little sphere, and that and all I know is that the small business owners that work with us seem to have pretty good results, and that's because I don't, I'm never gonna get depression from someone not achieving something, but I'm also like, I do get upset knowing if someone hasn't achieved a goal and it's had something to do with me. I do generally get concerned and upset about it. I'll stay up at night and work on things because I'm like, actually, they've like entrusted me with a lot of responsibility here. And the plus side of that is when you do actually care and do that, you have customers that will work with you for the rest of your life. That is the flip side of the space if someone's thinking of getting into marketing, is that if you do actually care, there's like almost an infinite amount of work. because everyone wants that, and there's just so few. So there's I got asked the other day from someone that's thinking of starting an agency whether they should, and I said, well, look, if you're going to start an agency and actually do good work, yeah, it's like so early in that space that you'll pick up. If you'll just float naturally to the top and pick up, you won't even really have to do anything. But if you just want to start another agency that is all automated and trying to, do 4 hours a week, then it's completely saturated. You're not going to float through the noise. It's an impossible task in 2022. There's too many people doing that. But if you're just going around doing good work and providing value, man, you'll have more work than you'll ever be able to handle. And that's what I found happened with us.
Yeah, you see a lot of stuff on like Twitter and Instagram where these guys were running courses and they're like, "Oh, I'll get you to 20K a month agency, only working 8 hours a week," and bullshit like that. And it's like you wonder why how would that even work, and then B, have these guys actually run an agency, and C, they're duping kids into buying these courses to do that sort of shit.
I know for a fact that if you're making 20K a month and you have more than, say, like 7 clients, you're not spending much on your clients at all. So like my overheads here, we're not a huge agency, but my overheads here are 46 grand a month. So like, and that's like attempting to do good work. So like, we're like sort of touching on 7 figures now, but 20K a month in the marketing space is not enough to run a good agency. And you could have like maybe you could have like a couple of clients and, really, really look after them, get clients that pay like 5,000-10,000 a month and really just give them a personalized concierge service. But, to make 20 grand a month, let's say for instance, you have 20 clients, right? $1,000 a month, doing the ads or something. So it's $1,000 a month. You got it. So you're gonna manage all 20 of those clients with no help. So you're not paying any salaries. Okay, well then you're going to be able to give a lot back to those clients. But it's very, very difficult to manage 20 clients if you're doing it properly as one person. So you then have to hire someone. Hiring someone can be cheap or expensive, but let's say it's 2 or 3 grand a month on average to cover. Then there's the tools. There's another $1,000 a month in tools that you're already in the hole for 4 grand a month. Then there's the actual mechanics of making it happen. You're probably spending probably $400 a month per client potentially. So there's another couple of 8 grand. So there's 14-15 grand just in overheads. And then why agencies get big is because you can economies of scale, you can spread that over more clients. But like at 20 grand a month or 10 grand a month, you're not making money. People, that's the biggest problem with this guru like course space is like everyone sets the goalpost at 10 grand a month, but you once you're in it, you realize that 10 grand a month is not enough to even pay yourself. And you really do have to get some scale, and that's why people end up churning and burning through people, because they're trying to get the scale without maintaining the quality. Because I think a lot of people start in the marketing space with good intentions of being like, providing value. It's just you start to realize early on that to be able to do that, it costs a lot of money. They want to make 20 grand a month, but keep 15 of it, as opposed to making 20 grand a month and maybe spending 15 on clients and keeping 5 of it. So that's what the problem is like everyone wants to make 20 grand a month, but keep 20 of it. It just doesn't,
It's
mechanics don't work like that. No, it just does. People, but that's the people. I think that's also the course creators' fault. I think if someone made a legit course that was like, and I might do this still. I just wish I had more time. But if I made a course that was like, you're going to work hard. This isn't a get rich quick scheme. You're going to be working 40, 50 hours a week, but you're going to make, 60 grand a year doing marketing for people. I think you would get a lot of people do that course if it was realistic, because not everyone wants to just sit on a beach and do something. People just don't like their current job and love marketing and just are happy just to make enough to survive, but they're doing something they enjoy. And there's very, very few courses that are like that, where it's like, look, everything here is about providing the best service to the customers. Yeah, you're not going to become a millionaire, but you're going to be able to kill your job and do something that you enjoy. I would have bought that course at the start, but that's what I mean. Like, there's so much crap out there. It's like, make 20 grand a month without doing anything. So very few things like that.
Where does a kid coming up, maybe fresh out of high school and wants to get into the marketing space, what's some advice you give to them? Is it go just start at entry level at a agency like yours? Is it go to uni and do a marketing degree? Is it go do one of these courses? What is it?
Um, so you got one or two. In my opinion, you got one or two ways to get into the market. You either go to agencies and just go, look, let me help you out. You know, if some 17-year-old kid wants to come here and go, oh Jimmy, I'll give you a couple of hours a day. You know, you can just give me some advice on getting started. I would help them because it's hard to find good people in this space, and you know, it all comes around. So like, I think if someone was to knock on doors and go to agencies and go, look, you know, can I just come and do a couple of hours a day after school? You know, I just want to get into this space, or you know, whatever. You would find more that you would get experience really quick doing that. The flip side is, I think if I was to do it again and I didn't have the resources I had, because you know, look, full transparency, it probably cost me about 60 grand to set the agency up from the very start, the way I've got it set up. So not everyone has 60 grand. Not everyone has the 10 years of experience doing marketing before they start this. So I realized that I had a head start. But if I was to do it again without the head start, this is exactly what I would do. I would be hitting the pavement, whether it's on YouTube or wherever, you know, just virtual pavement or physical, going to businesses and going, look, I know a little bit about marketing. I'm willing to give you all the effort I've got because I want to make this my career. You know, if I did your marketing for $500 a month, you know, would you guys take a punt and be honest and go, look, there's a good chance you may lose that money, but I'm going to give it an absolutely cracking effort, and I'm going to treat you, whoever I start with is going to be the person that gets the most out of me. If you walked up to 5 businesses down your street, one of them would say take you on as a give you a punt, especially in Australia because everyone wants to help someone. So like if you just genuinely did that, walk down the street and you were honest and genuine about saying like, actually, I don't know what I'm doing, but I will learn it. You know, it's all on YouTube. I listened to Jimmy and he said it's all on YouTube. I've got some people that are mentoring me and helping me. I just understand that I cannot provide you the same value as someone that's been doing this for 10 years, but I can give you a heap more effort. You would find 10 customers like that. Honestly, I think that's what I would do again if I didn't have the budget and the wherewithal that I had to start, is just knock on doors, go, be honest, be sincere, be a good person, and actually give it a half decent crack at like providing effort. Don't just say that stuff and then try and automate it all. Be on there, calling them, messaging them, and try and get them to be your biggest fans so they refer others to you that you can start charging more to. Because once you get one or two of them refer you, then you can actually charge a premium because their weight carries with that. So, you know, you can say you get them there. All you need start an agency is one decent case study. If you can get a decent case study that people believe, then you can start charging a premium. You know, and I think that's where it falls over, is like people want to try and charge $2,000-$3,000 a month for marketing and they don't know what they're doing. Whereas if they just were realistic about their ability and said, look, the reason I'm only $700 a month is I'm still learning, they'd probably get better outcomes. And then they can, in a year, they can start charging whatever the hell they want because they've built a whole bunch of experience. So you're getting paid to learn. I definitely wouldn't go to uni because you would probably have to go down this path anyway. But I would just like frame it around being honest and sincere about your ability and just really making sure those first few people get all the love so that they tell 6 or 7 other people, and then you get the flywheel effect.
Yeah, get the runs on the board first and get a few raving fans. I think, yeah, for marketing, if you can turn a business around or really, hit the jackpot with a couple of businesses, they'll be, and I think you said this before, they'll be your fans for forever. Like they could be potential partners forever. So
Can I tell you a quick story of one client, Chris at Rico? He's still my client today. He was my first client, and he said to me, Jimmy, I'm taking a punt. I understand that you never worked. I'm taking a punt, and I charged him fairly decently, but I took a hit like discount wise, and I tried to cut corners. This is why I don't cut corners, because of this specific thing that happened to me. I tried to cut corners, and I got some content produced that was subpar. So the website writing on the website was, was embarrassing, right? And Chris said to me, he goes, Jimmy, like, I'm embarrassed for you, notwithstanding the fact that it's not good. I'm just embarrassed for you. You can't go and say this and then do this. And from that point on, I said, I never want to experience that again. So I sat down for 20 hours because I'm not a very good writer. I have 3 writers in the office here that write because of that. But I sat down for 20 hours personally myself and wrote every single word on that website and said that I'm never going to do that again. And Chris said to me, this is only like probably a year ago, he said to me that the reason he's still with me is because of that action and how it was handled. So I think where I'm getting at with this is that, and he's probably gotten me 15 clients over the lifetime we've been working together, because we anytime like we don't do much together anymore because we've gotten heaps of good results. But he'll call me up every now and go, "Oh, Jimmy, do you know how to do this?" Or I'm just his online guy. And but anytime he meets someone or someone asks, go talk to Jimmy, and he brings that up. He goes like, the guy's tenacity, because I told Chris, I was like, I'd spent a long time rewriting this, and if it's hopefully it's good enough, apologies, like you should get better. And then he held me to task, and we got him results luckily, and he became the biggest fan I've got. And I think that's the other thing I wanted to add is like if you're just starting out, you can't shy away from this stuff. Like if you mess up or you stuff up or you're not going to get results, if you're just honest and sincere about that and actually make some kind of effort to fix it, most people will be okay with that. They're not going to drag you over the coals unless you lie to them or you mislead them. If you're very honest and sincere about that, they will just try and work with you to get the outcome.
Take the loss on the chin and own up to it, and try and.
Oh, dude, when it happened, I was in tears. I was like, I've killed this agency before I even started it. That's my first thought, and I'd spent like 15 grand at that point getting it started. I was like, I've just killed this thing off. Like the first client I've gotten, and I've tried to cut a corner, and it's bitten me in the ass. So ever since then, we just don't cut corners. I know other agencies run differently, but I don't ever want to be in that situation again where it's like I can't put my hand on my heart and go like, yeah, we gave it everything. Like, and that has saved our ass several times now in this agency where clients don't necessarily think we've gotten the best results. And I'm like, look, don't get another agency to look at the stuff we've done. And look, there's ways we can improve, obviously, but like get them to look and tell me that we haven't put effort in. And we haven't had another agency yet come and go, oh, they've just slacked off or haven't done anything. They've always turned around and go, well, look, we would do things differently. They're trying to pitch, obviously, but like the work's not bad. It just like they could improve this, this, and this. So it's saved, the whole philosophy has saved my ass several times now. All I'm saying is like, don't experience it in the first place because it was a traumatic experience and it's affected the agency's trajectory for a long time. But if you're starting out and you're just honest and open about your abilities and what you can and can't do, so that's where I made the mistake because I was, I should have just told him that I was going to use someone else to write. He would have been perfectly fine with it. He probably would have helped me write it, is my guess. He would have been like, oh, let's write this together, or, can I give the guy some notes so the content's better? I didn't have to hide the fact that I was doing it, but, and so since then I just haven't done it. But yeah, it was a big inflection point in this business because it set the trajectory of like, actually, I don't want to just be another churn and burn agency. I want to actually do good work and help people.
Yeah. I suppose it could have easily taken another path. You could have said, oh, fuck, I'm terrible at this, and put your head in the sand and go back to selling agricultural equipment or something. So
yeah, well, that's exactly it. Like, I could have just been like, oh, I'll just ignore him, and hopefully he just like ends up another one of those people that's been ripped off and jaded by marketing and go on to the next person. But I think that's where conviction comes into it. It's like, if I don't want to be personally responsible for someone losing their livelihood. Like, honestly, I couldn't think of anything worse. People go out of business. We've had 2 clients go out of business. Now I can honestly say that was nothing to do with us. We gave them what we had. They just mismanaged their business. And that's not our fault. That's not their fault. It's just what it is. But I can honestly say it's not because we didn't get them results. It was more just, their foundations, right? They couldn't manage the inquiries good enough. They weren't converting them at a high enough rate. But at the time, we weren't helping with that. So I think it just lays down to conviction. And this is why, like I said from the start, I hope there's some kind of form of regulation, because honestly, there needs to be more people like myself out there and less people out there that are just trying to, make 19 grand from 20 grand. Because it's not a cheap way to run a business. It's an agency. It's not a cheap way to run an agency. But we've just been lucky that we've picked up enough client volume to make it profitable. But it's not a cheap way to do it. And I think that's why people don't do it, is they just want to make as much money as they can from the space and then just jump in and jump out when they're ready,
Yeah, that's probably why I enjoyed our first chat and the second chat that we had as well, because you were just upfront and honest. You probably could have offered to, oh, we could do this strategy, and that would probably put X amount of dollars in your pocket versus, I think this is actually what you guys should be doing. Let's have a chat about this. It's not going to make me as much money if we end up working together, but it's probably going to be better for your business. So that's really why, yeah, I like that first conversation.
And it should be what you expect. I don't know why the industry doesn't do that. It should be what you expect. It makes way better outcomes, and it's not. It doesn't feel sleazy when you do that. That the main reason I do that is because I don't want to come off as sleazy. I don't want to come off as like a sleazy salesperson that's trying to sell you something. I want to provide you You've come on a call with me to have a chat, and I want to provide genuine value. So at least you haven't wasted your time. You know, whether you use me or not's irrelevant. We got plenty of work. So if you didn't use us, I'd be okay. Well, we're busy as it is, right? But I'm more like, okay, well, if I'm going to take the time to jump on a call with you, you're going to take the time to jump on a call with me. Let's actually create some value, so I get some value out of the time, and you get some value out of the time, and then you're better educated. And when the time's right, you know that I'm not a saint. I know the plan is that if you do this, then when you are ready to use me, I'm the first person you speak to. And that's generally how it works, is like if you provide enough value, even if it's not the right time right now to use someone, then you know it's amazing. I get phone calls like a year later after speaking to someone and going, oh Jimmy, I've just, you know, I remember what you said about building a website. You know, like we couldn't afford it now, but we're ready to do it. It's like, okay, I forgot the conversation, but I'm sure we had it. And you know, let's do it. Let's have another catch up and work out the logistics. That's happened to me 3 times now, where someone's just come back after a year and a bit, you know, budgets and like financial years. They've spoken to their accountant. They've kept the mental note of how much it's going to cost, and then when as soon as they're ready, they're on the first. They don't even, they're not trying to shop or anything. They're just, I want to use you. It's always been the case. So um, I just want to show people that, you know, you can make money doing it this way. You don't have to like try and extract every dollar out of everyone, because if you're playing a long game and you tend to be in the space for a while, then the lifetime value of people doing it this way is so much higher. Because Chris has used us like 15 times now for various different things, and the lifetime his lifetime value is so much higher than the initial money I would have got if I just churned and burned him. You know, yeah, I probably wouldn't have spent much at the start, but you know, he's spent well over 500K with us in 4 years just doing bits and pieces, and you know, I would have made like a couple of grand at the start if I just burned him on the content and he never used me again.
And it'd be much more stressful for you as an agency owner as well if you did it the other way, because then you've just got to always be thinking of ways of bringing new people in the door.
Yep, and ways of like coming up with excuses. Yeah, it's a 10 times more stressful way to do it. I don't get calls on the weekends. You know, I set pretty clear boundaries with clients that, you know, look, I'm not going to harass you. Please, you know, unless it's something super urgent, you know, it can always wait till Monday in marketing, unless it's like a website down or something. But I don't get clients harassing me. Generally, I'll pick up all calls because I know if they're calling me, they just want to ask a question. So like they'll call me and they'll go, "Oh, Jimmy, what do you reckon of this?" Or, you know, a mate of mine told me about this. What do you reckon? So a lot of it's just calls about like, "Oh, how would you go about this?" Or, you know, do we need to, a lot of the questions is like, "Oh, Jimmy, mate of mine's doing Facebook ads. Do you reckon we should do it?" I'm like, "Oh, don't know. Let's have a chat about. I don't know. We could." So, you know, if I do get phone calls from clients that are upset, generally I know exactly what's going on, so I can go, well, this is what we've been doing, and this is miscommunication. But yeah, I don't know how an agency would run if they had the constant threat of a client calling up unhappy. I would just probably not answer calls anymore. I'd be like, "Oh, it's going to
Be
message bank."
constantly on the edge of freaking anxiety all the
Yeah,
time that
yeah,
they're going to leave. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know how agencies do that, because, but this is life experience thing. You know, like I think coming into the agency space a little bit older, I was 31 when I started the agency, helped me a little bit in the fact that like I'd lived in the real world for a bit and seen how real businesses operate in the real world. Um, you know, a lot of agencies are started by people that maybe are a little bit younger that don't have that life experience. So their reference point is other people that are a similar age, and they see like, you know, people holding wads of cash and stuff and think that's how businesses are run. When really, like, if I've had several agencies in the past, young guys come up to me and go, "Oh, Jimmy, can I just pick your brains?" You really should be modeling your agency and yourself off people that are further along the line, older, more successful, whatever. not off your peers and colleagues that are at the same level as you. And I think that's another. It's like a circular feedback loop where everyone does the same courses, sees the same things on TikTok and goes, oh, hustle culture. I'm gonna just go make bank and drive around. It's like, no, actually, like 99.9% of successful wealthy people don't do that. It's like most successful wealthy people have worked hard and just done it smartly, and then they reap the rewards as they go. But yeah, I don't know. That's just my philosophy on it. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting. I can honestly say, 10 years from now, I'll be able to look back on the marketing space and go, well, like I did this way, whether it was right or wrong. I could be homeless in 3 years because it's not the right way to do it. But you know, I'm too far down this path and model now to switch and turn into an agency that burns people.
Yeah, I think it's a good approach, mate. So yeah. We'll wrap up shortly. Probably a couple more questions, but something you touched on just before in terms of modeling yourself on someone. Is there anyone that was a really big or is a really big influence on you, and it's helped shaped your career, or someone that you look up to in the marketing space?
That's a good question, and it changes regularly. Like I kind of take pieces. I digest everything around me, and then just take pieces of what I think will work for me. I think Alex Hormozi's been a big influence on me, especially in the last like 4 years, because I followed him when he had Gym Launch, so I was a little bit earlier to the Hormozi party than
He's everywhere now, isn't
most.
he?
Oh yeah, but that's hard work. That's the cause and effect of hard work right there, and it's probably why I like him so much. Is like when it was Gym Launch and there was like 1,000 people on his YouTube channel, he's still saying the same stuff then than he did now, and he's just his philosophy on working is a lot more closely aligned with myself. Probably the biggest influence on me has been the previous company I worked with, the Boakmans. They're not marketing. They're not market. They don't even know how to really use the internet well, to be fair. But they've been in business for 50 years, and their business is fourth generation now. So there's grandparents, parents, grandsons, and one great grandson in the business. So to create a business that withstands 50 years in the agricultural space, where the environment has a huge effect on it, um, is testament to good inherent business knowledge. And a lot of what I know about treating people comes from that family and the way they treat people. And then from a marketing perspective, got a lot from a gentleman called Ryan Stewart, who's an SEO. Got a lot of principles from him, and more recently, a young guy named Charlie Morgan over at a company called Imperium Agency. I've been learning a lot off him. He's only in his 20s, his early 20s, but the guy internally, he's got like the internal age of like a 70-year-old man. He's so stoic about things, and he's very, very good at looking at things rationally. And the guy's just a little mini genius. Like his ways of generating inquiries and leads and things is in sales. So yeah, I've got several influences. Some are not, most are marketing related, more just philosophically business related. Because at the end of the day, I want to be a good business person, not a good marketer. I think a good business person is more holistic than just being a good marketer, because I'm already a good marketer. Like I think the results speak for that. Already a good marketer, but I have a lot to do to be a better business person, because that's the area of growth that I need to grow into. So I just find my influences in people that have made a lot of money doing business and just picking the bits that I think will work for me. Another influence is a gentleman named Nick Hansen at Trident Industry Australia. Probably never heard of him, but the guy's worth a lot of money, and just a guy that owns a subsea rental company. But he works 4 hours a day, and he has for like 25 years. And just his philosophies around balancing work and life, I've started taking on more recently. I work from 6 to 1 every day now, and I just found that I compress more into that day if I know I have a fixed start and finish time. But yeah, so Alex Hormozi definitely. I think everyone's influenced by that dude. Gary Vee as well, bit of Gary Vee, and then just the Boakmans and these others.
Yeah, he speaks very well as well. He articulates things, and it just makes some complex marketing or business things quite easy to understand.
The crazy thing about Alex is he wasn't like that. You know, in his early, like in the stuff from Gym Launch days, he speaks a lot more articulately now than he did then. You know, not that I know the guy from any stretch of imagination, but I have, you know, I've seen the growth. You know, everything he talks about and every money he's made is all verifiable. It's not like a fake guru where, you know, did they make their money from a course or something? You know, he can go back in time through a timeline and see the inflection points where he made his money. That they're probably the people I listen to the most, is the ones that have a verifiable trail. You know, so there's a lot of gurus out there that have no verifiable trail. You know, they've just come into money, or they've made a heap of money selling something, and then all of a sudden they think they're qualified to talk. So the reason I do content is to leave a verifiable trail in the future, so that if I do blow up in the future, I have some way of verifying. I've basically created a digital journal through my online guy of where I started. So everything I've said today is I've done videos on in the past, and you know, you can go, hopefully same way Alex Hormozy does, you can go back in time and go, well, like, this is where it started and this is where it is now, and this is the pieces that got to there. I really try, and that's my bellwether whether I listen to someone or not. It's like, do you have the papers to verify that, or is it just, you know, rhetoric?
So if someone wants to go see those papers, where can they find you
Oh,
online?
my advice is going to my Facebook, on the My Online Guy Facebook page. I got videos all the way back from like the start of COVID, telling businesses, oh, you know, Zoom's going to be big. You know, get on Zoom. You got to learn how to use Zoom. And you know, I remember when COVID hit, I only had those 3 clients, and I was like literally ready to go back to working at Pokemon. So I was like, I'm not going to survive this. And I had all the equipment, the camera gear, and the mic and everything. And I just sort of said to myself, well, if I'm going to go down swinging, I'm going to just leave a legacy, you know. So I was on like 4 times a day doing lives, going, if you're a restaurant, here's the things you need to be doing. If you're a yoga studio, set up a camera and run live streams. I was like, I've got the equipment. I've got about a month. I might as well just do that, and fully prepared to go like last hurrah. But what interesting, and then why I'm so big on content now is like, the government at that time hadn't announced JobKeeper. As soon as they announced JobKeeper, the day they announced JobKeeper, I had 11 inquiries for the agency, because people have been watching that and getting that value, not in a position to do anything about it. But as soon as they were in a position to do about it, the government said, yep, we're going to give you money for your staff. They all came and see me at the same time, because they were like, oh, I watched your video on yoga studios. You know, it was really helpful. And that's why I'm so big on content and providing value with no expectation of return, because the agency wouldn't exist if it wasn't for that. That value, it's as true as it was true 4000 BC, it's true now. It's like, if you are genuinely sincere about going, there's no ulterior motive here, I just enjoy what I do, I just enjoy marketing, I just enjoy lawn mowing, you know, mowing lawn, go, oh, look, if you want to get rid of this buffalo, go and buy this from Bunnings and spray it on it. It's like that kind of stuff separates like 1% of people from 99% of people. And like I said, this agency wouldn't exist if it wasn't for it. So I'm going to do it forever, because I owe a lot to that model. But yeah, go back in time. If someone's interested in seeing that, go back in time to 2020 in the videos and see how many videos I created, because I had nothing else to do. I didn't just sit there and while I was like, I literally have 3 clients. I can manage it in like 2 hours a
I
day.
think you guys,
So what am I going to do for this other 6?
you guys were locked down for longer than everyone else, weren't you, in WA?
No, we were pretty good. It was more just, I had this office. I had an office and I had committed to it. And I was like, well, I've got to go in here anyway. I could just sit here and play games or whatever because I'm bored. But actually, I was like, nah, I'm going to just provide as much value as I can while I have the resources to be able to do it. And it got me comfortable in front of a camera. It's amazing when you're making 50 videos, how comfortable you get in front of a camera. And then I just kept doing that. And yeah, so I think a lot of things, there's another video I've done about burning the boats. And, you know, the Vikings used to do it when they used to land in a new area. They used to burn their boats, so they had no excuse but to go forward. I always tell people that have one foot in one door and one foot in the other, is like, if you didn't have that job and you were just focusing on the agency, you now have 40 hours a week. You have no out. So you're going to use everything you've got to make it work. And if you don't, then you're not cut out to do it. And it's the same situation. It's like, I was like, I've got nothing to lose. I can only push forward. I've got the office anyway. I've got the equipment. I might as well just do something. And that paid off, luckily. But there's not enough people doing that, and it's why things don't succeed. So yeah, I have a full library, like a couple of hundred videos that I've recorded over the last few years of different thoughts and SEO, Google Ads. I cover it's like a full marketing degree just in my videos. I feel.
So is that
But yeah,
my online guy
my
on
online
Facebook?
guy.
Yeah.
Yep. That's where most of them are. There's some on YouTube as well, but I used to just stream on Facebook because that's all I knew how to do. Now I stream on multiple platforms, but yeah, that's where you get the full library. And then on YouTube, some of my more recent interviews and live streams are on YouTube too, which there's a lot of value there as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jimmy, and thanks for today. Appreciate your time, and thanks for helping us level up.
Dude, it was sick. I enjoyed it, and yeah, this is going to be great, and look forward to watching myself.
Cheers, mate. See ya.
Thanks, mate.